Welcome back, guys. We are driving to the gym, and I was just questioning my food choices just now because normally I'll have some fruit before a workout because I like to have some sugar. And if you're eating sugar throughout the day, it doesn't necessarily have the biggest impact on energy levels, at least for me. But I've found that when I'm working out, I do notice when I have sugar versus when I don't have sugar, just because there's so much of a physical demand on your body that having the extra energy at hand is really useful. And over the course of a long workout, it feels a lot different, at least to me. And today I was out of fruit, so I found myself eating just like a piece of a chocolate bar. And I was looking at it and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I eating a chocolate bar? It seems like there's no justifiable reason to, no way that could be a good thing to do, because I wasn't eating it because I wanted a chocolate bar. I was eating it supposedly for, if you really want to extrapolate things, like for a health reason, I was eating this chocolate bar so that I could, get a better workout, right? And, it just seemed so odd to me. But it's so difficult nowadays, I think, just to have a healthy diet because of all the stuff that's around, all of the options that we have, because there's so much junk. And, that chocolate bar, it was just around. It was something I had on hand that I could use. And it was tasty. I didn't eat a whole chocolate bar, by the way, but it's just so hard, I'm realizing, and just thinking about all of the processed foods that I have available to me and that I consume pretty regularly. I try my best to eat a healthy diet. I like to eat, meats and vegetables and fruits. But then there's other stuff that's like processed junk. Like, I eat a lot of doughs, like a lot of bread, not raw dough, but, bread, like whether it's in the form of a pizza or if it's just a loaf of bread, it's a bagel or something. And I feel like those aren't the best for you, to be eating a ton of those. My dad's keto, so he's said, a lot of bad stuff about carbs, but, I think that they're okay in moderation as long as you're doing physical exercise to burn off the calories, because they are incredibly calorie dense. And most of the reason why I eat them is because I need calorie dense foods. I would be perfectly happy having like a steak and a salad for dinner, and there's no bread in that. Maybe you have some croutons, but that's practically nothing. I would be perfectly happy with that, but I wouldn't get nearly as many calories as I would need to fuel me. I tend to not eat lunch. I might have like a little snack, and I'm thinking of cutting out breakfast too, just because I'm getting kind of bored with breakfast. But I need to consume a certain amount of calories just so that I have energy, and so that my goal right now is actually to be putting on some muscle mass. I'd like to be gaining some weight. I weigh about 160 to 165, somewhere in that range currently. I'd like to get up to 170, maybe 175, but I think 170 would be fine. And to do that, you need to have a caloric surplus. And in my opinion, it's not super easy to eat a caloric surplus healthily because when you're eating meats, like just plain meats, you assume you put nothing on them, no sauces or anything, although I tend to. There aren't many calories for the weight. Meat is not that calorie dense. It's very filling. It's very, it's nutrient dense, but it's not super calorie dense. Not like bread or pasta. I just feel like pasta, maybe dense isn't the right word, because, bread itself is kind of airy. But if you actually condense the bread down and make it, literally more dense, it's the same weight, but it's just very high in calories, which is what you need. So I tend to eat a lot of pasta, I eat rice, I'll eat bread, and a lot of the time I just don't want to think about what I'm going to eat. So I'll pick up a pizza on the way home, or, if I'm ever at Costco, absolutely I'm picking up a pizza. I'll get a sub every now and then. And, these things, I'm sure that, a lot of the reason people tend to think that certain foods are bad for us is because they're high in calories. I think that's the main reason people tend to think, for the most part, why they might say like this dessert's bad, or, pizza's not good for you. It's because they're high in calories, and a lot of people have a problem with their weight, right? They're eating too many calories and they get overweight, and then they have health issues because they're obese. Me, on the other hand, I don't know if those foods have anything innately unhealthy about them. For sure. I'm not sure because there's, all that I've heard is, oh, these foods, they're bad, watch out. But I'm pretty sure it's because they have a lot of calories, and, it's not healthy to be overweight. And so if you are overweight, then you don't want to get more overweight. And so those are, could be thought of as bad foods because they're contributing to this health issue that you have. But if you're not overweight and you're trying to gain weight, are those foods actually bad? I mean, I've heard it's kind of a meme at this point, but, I've heard Red 40's not good for you. And so obviously, yeah, a lot of candies that have preservatives and weird stuff in them, those probably aren't that healthy. But if you were to say, make your own ice cream or something and just included raw sugar, just, the only ingredient is sugar and milk and ice. I don't know how to make ice cream. I think it's just sugar and milk, actually. And then you just cool it down with ice around it. But if you were to just have that, would that actually be bad for you if you were expending the calories doing work later in the day? I'm not sure. These are questions that I've had for a while. And I've listened to some podcasts, but I don't think that anything is super conclusive. I think that it's still kind of a mystery to us, because there's big debates actually between vegetarians and carnivores, and people say, oh, what's better for you? And I think it really is still a mystery to a lot of people, or to everyone, probably. I mean, nobody knows for sure. There are, I think, pretty obvious ways that you could go about living that would be fairly healthy, and I try to do those for myself, where I try to avoid processed foods, just because I don't know necessarily what's in them. I'm not reading very thoroughly every ingredient label, and so even if I were, I wouldn't know if these, preservatives or whatever they're putting, artificial colorings and flavorings, if those have negative health effects. I mean, a lot of people don't know about them, and some of them we do know are bad for you, that they're still in there. And so I try just to avoid processed foods in general, and I try not to be overweight. So I try to eat healthy, not put on too much fat. I'm fine putting on more muscle, so I guess it's not overweight. I don't want to be over fat. And I feel that if you do those two things, if you're not overweight and you're not eating a ton of processed foods, mostly natural foods that you would recognize, like a cut of steak or a piece of, chicken breast, and, vegetables like cauliflower, broccoli, salads, that kind of stuff. If it's just stuff that you recognize, I feel that you can't really go too wrong with it, and you should be in an okay position. Relatively, you should be pretty healthy. And if you're, now, does that mean that you could just eat only fruit all day, and as long as you're not overweight, that's not an issue? Maybe. I don't know. It doesn't sound healthy to eat only fruit, because there is a lot of sugar in it. But I think maybe it would balance out. I think that there's a lot of fiber in fruit too, and I've heard that that kind of counteracts sugar. So I don't know, maybe you could. I know monkeys eat a ton of fruit. That's, I think the main thing that they eat. And then, they'll eat bugs and stuff, meat if they can find it. But I think it's mostly fruit for monkeys. They're living in trees, picking fruit, eating it. And we're pretty closely related. So maybe an all fruit diet wouldn't be that bad. I did hear about one person who did that, and I think they just got underweight and they were just missing too many nutrients from, that you typically get from meat. So maybe that's not the way to go, but I didn't hear about them getting diabetes or anything, which is what I would assume the issue would be. But I think that diabetes, unless you're born with it, then, that probably comes from just eating a lot of refined sugar, just because you can eat so much refined sugar. If you're eating a candy bar or something, it's crazy how much sugar is in, even in just baked goods, there's a ton of sugar. But that's it for the day. That was me just questioning myself, what is healthy to eat? So I'm going to have to think about it a little bit more. It's something I've been thinking about for years and just haven't quite figured out. But I think I've gotten to a pretty good place where I'm doing reasonably well. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.